You're listening to Answers for the Family with Alan Cardoza, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Welcome to another edition of Answers for the Family. I'm your host, Alan Cardoza, and for those of you that have been listening, sending in questions and comments, thank you so much, and please continue to help spread the word that every Monday from 11 a.m. to noon Pacific time, this show will bring on special guests that can inspire, educate, and in some cases entertain, while bringing answers and options to making our lives happier, healthier, and more successful. Now, I'd really like to ask a favor of all of you. Please forward one of our shows to your social media group and to someone you know that can benefit from a particular show. It will help us reach more people, and we greatly appreciate it. And I guarantee you, everybody is going to know somebody that can benefit from this upcoming show. Now, Answers for the Family will continue to address a variety of issues, such as locating a runaway teen, family crisis intervention, building self-esteem, dealing with addictions, and so much more. But the main thing this time is we're going to be talking about happiness. Now, we're also going to introduce you to talented authors and new innovations in the areas of health, security, and in some cases fun for you and your family. Now, our topic today is going to be about how much is enough. We have somehow created a society that it's focused on the fact that and so many other things that's going on out there. I think we've kind of gotten away from the things that are the most important to us. So I'm excited to have on as our guest today, Gina LaRoche and Jennifer Cohen. Gina is the co-founder of Seven Stones Leadership Group, and she's a leading organizational consultant, executive coach, speaker, and author, as well as an artist. She is noted for executive programs that challenge leaders, teams, and entrepreneurs to accelerate results and develop mindfulness and presence for themselves and their organization. Now, she's a popular keynote speaker. Gina is a graduate of Spirit Rock's Community Dharma Leaders Program and a board member of the Insight Meditation Society. She holds a BSBA from Georgetown University and an MBA from Harvard Business School. Now, for those of you that are visual learners and on your computer, you can go to www.sevenstonesleadership.com while listening. Now, Jennifer is also a co-founder of Seven Stones Leadership Group and an engaging speaker and author, well known for coaching world-class leaders from institutions including Harvard Business School and Simons. Now, quantum physics, ontology, neuroscience, and semantics, and systems thinking inform her intuitive and innovative and embodied approaches to curriculum, design, and facilitation. She holds a master's degree in applied psychology from the Antioch, New England Graduate School, and is certified as a master somatic coach. Gina, Jennifer, welcome to Answers for the Family.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you for having us. This is Gina.
Hello, Gina. I think one of the things, and I mentioned a little bit about where we are with our society, but what is the overall message that you're trying to put out there in your book, The 7 Laws of Enough?
I think in a nutshell, I would say the book is that you are enough, you do enough, and you have enough. And as we like to say in the book, it's really time that we take that debate off the table. And this book is to help you on this journey from not believing that to the truth that you are enough.
Now, you mentioned about a sustainable abundance. Talk a little bit about that, and how does the 7 Laws of Enough support achieving that?
This is Jen, Alan. Mm-hmm. First of all, thanks for having us. I know Gina said it, but
very welcome.
For us, sustainable abundance, first of all, I want to say we don't ever take those two words apart. There's a conversation in some parts of the country about abundance, 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 and we're not in favor of that conversation without the sustainable next to it. So I just want to say that that's important to us. And for us, the definition of sustainable is reciprocal, ethical, accountable, and just. And we're really not doing that as a human society in relationship to one another or the shared planet that we're living on and all the other critters that are here. And for us, abundance is about being awake to the gift and the bounty that is here and was a gift that was given equally to all beings. It wasn't originally parsed out for only a few. It was here for all of us. And that's what the definition sustainable abundance means. And the 7 laws really are a map of the territory of sustainable abundance. And maybe I'm jumping ahead, but law number 1 is stories matter, and we're living in a story about scarcity and not enough, like you said in the opening. And the story of sustainable abundance has signposts, just like the story of not enough has signposts. And we say those signposts are the 7 laws.
Well, I mean, and you brought up a great point, is scarcity. And it seems as though we have a created scarcity when there really isn't in many of the areas that seem to be projected out there. Well, I guess there are a couple of things. One is, I mean, what do you think is causing it, and how can we push away from that?
So, Alan, this is Gina. I want to clarify something before I answer the question, in that we talk in the book that there's 3 types of scarcity, and there is structural scarcity, where there are people who do not have enough to eat. There are people, right? We live in New England. There are people who do not have enough fuel to keep their homes warm, and so we're not saying that doesn't exist. However, there's the children dying in Yemen and the people here who don't have heat. It's not because there's not enough food or fuel to feed them or heat their homes. It's because we've created a system where it's okay to hoard resources and allow others to go without, even to their death. 30,000 children will die today, and not because there's not enough food for them. Mm-hmm. It's because of the systems we have set up. So I just want to be clear that we know that scarcity exists, and it is manufactured. A scarce good is valuable. We've set up our society that way. There's also a mindset of scarcity, and we're mostly talking in that domain of language of I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, what I'm doing isn't important enough, I don't look good enough. So that's mainly the domain we're speaking in. And then obviously there's also interpersonal scarcity, where you don't do enough, you're not good enough, as a partner, as a friend, as a boss, as a sibling, etc. So I just wanted to clarify that before we dove into what we see as the scarcity story.
And Jennifer, what would you add to that?
I think Gina said it really well. Alan, do you have a next? I think she did great.
Oh no, no, that's fine. I just wanted to keep it open to that. Yeah, and I would agree, because and I think it was said very well from the standpoint of, it isn't acknowledging that that there aren't people that are doing without, but it is the fact, and I love that you went right to food, because we know that there is enough food to feed everybody on this planet, and that's just a huge issue to me, the fact that we don't make that a priority. That there are so many other things that either for political reasons or for commercialism reasons are made priorities, and not some of the basic functions, as you brought up, which is food, which is warmth, or shelter. We can build shelters very easily for everybody, and in regards to the heating and stuff, through solar power, there are people who have put out very specific plans in which they could set up solar systems, and one of which was that they could cover 1/8 of the Sahara Desert, and it would keep Europe in electricity, but yet it doesn't get done. And why doesn't it get done? It hasn't been monetized in such a way, or that it's been more important to keep, the oil industry or the gas industry or, the coal industry or whatever, to keep them in business. And that obviously is done through lobbying and such. So, yes, I couldn't agree more, and which is one of the reasons why I'm just so happy that you guys have written this book, because it is what we need to get to. We need to get to the point of what is enough and what is it that is going to make us happy, keep us happy, and not feel as though we have to have more. In fact, I was just thinking about, and I don't remember the name now, but a many years ago, a German billionaire that was the wealthiest person in Germany, and there was they had a crash in their economy, and he went from the number one wealthiest billionaire to the number two wealthiest billionaire because of the crash, and he committed suicide because he didn't have enough. So that's why I think it's just so great that you guys have written this book, because people need to know those things, and I don't know that they do. I don't know that they're getting the information that they need, because there's too much this other crap that's put out, in the media that is constantly telling us that we're not enough. So anyway, share with us more. As you can see, I'm very passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you've taken the time to put it together in a book that anybody can pick up and look at and tell, these are some of the steps that you can do to have a more fulfilled life.
Alan, this is Jen. Thank you for giving me a moment to gather my thoughts as you shared. And I know Gina spoke beautifully about the overall message of the book. And when people ask me, when it's my turn to answer that question, I say it in this way, which is, as we remember the laws, as we remember that we are enough and do enough, we make different choices about how to participate in our community. And one of the things that we often say is this book is not just about self-help. It's really at the intersection of our personal stories and our personal mindsets and how those interact with what it means to be a citizen on this planet, what it means to participate in the human community. And it isn't just about if I say I'm enough 8 million times, then I'm going to be able to have everything I want. It really is about asking a different set of questions about who we are, why we're here, how we're going to sustain life in the long term together as a human community, and how we're going to repair what basically we've destroyed. All the problems that we have are human-made, that I can think of anyway. Poverty, the planet, we made them up. And we made them up in a context where we've said that greed and power and infinite accumulation on a finite plane is more important than human life. It is more important than the future of the planet. It is more important than children's safety. And we keep choosing that over and over and over again.
Well, again, that's just beautifully said, and I just hope everybody is really listening to those words, and share those words with someone you love. In other words, as you're listening to this show, take it in, just really think about how you feel about it, but then share it. The only way that we're going to be able to make the difference is for you to share it with other people, just like Gina and Jen are doing with their book. So, yes, that's just so well put. I have to go back a little bit about the book. One of the things that you talk about in the book is you talk a little bit about the fallacy of being self-made. And I thought that was very interesting because it's something, and especially as a male of the generation that I'm in, that was a really, really important thing to be able to do. That was a huge thing to be able to stand and go, I am self-made. Nobody did this but me. And it was interesting to read that. So share a little bit about what that fallacy is.
Yeah, this is Gina again. Mm-hmm. We have this belief that if we work hard enough, that we can go from rags to riches. We can, Horatio Alger was the hero in the media, that we can get there on our own. And many people believe this, and we hear it in the news today. We hear Donald Trump saying that he got where he was with only a small loan of $1 million from his father. We hear Hillary Clinton just claiming that she was from this, more impoverished background than she really was. And those are just our last two presidential candidates. It happens over and over again. And the truth is, you're not self-made. You had parents who raised you. Mm-hmm. You had teachers who taught you. But even as an adult, you arrive at work in a car you didn't build, on a road you didn't pave or clear, or you are on a train with tracks you didn't lay. You are wearing clothes made from someone else, probably in another country, carrying a phone that was definitely made in another country. And you arrive to get your coffee that's brewed by someone else, who, by the way, is just open and there at your whim for when you feel like going into getting your cup of coffee and you feel like adding your extra shots of this or that. They're just there waiting for you. So this idea that we're self-made is just not true. We talk in the book about Benjamin Franklin. I mean, Benjamin Franklin invented a lot of things. He was ambassador. He was statesman. And the truth is, the reason why he had the freedom to do that is because he left his sister at home to take care of his aging parents. Mm-hmm. Even there's so we believe this myth. And actually the scarcity story has a lot of myths, not only the myths of being self-made, but we actually have myths of scarcity and the myths of excess that fuel this scarcity story and that perpetuate our own sense of not enough. And the media, you add social media and the new media in this day and age, it's like putting match to gasoline.
Yeah, and as you were saying that, I was thinking about the way in which music has gone, the way in which television has gone. I mean, everything is more. You've got to have more. You've got to have more, and as someone who works with adolescents, we also look at the fact that at a time in which supposedly we have so much more, suicide rates are at an all-time high in this country, and many of those are young people. So how is it that we can have more than we've ever had, and yet it still isn't enough? So that tells me, which is exactly what you point out in your book, that it's a mindset. We've created a mindset that needs to be fixed.
The mindset combined with the engine of consumer capitalism, we do need more of something. Alan, ironically enough, even though I wrote a book saying what's enough, this is Jen. But the things we keep obtaining more of are not the real solutions for what ails us.
Yeah.
So more clothing, right? And more Instagram posts and even more self-help, more fixing of ourselves, more square footage, more shoes, more money, more time, more space, more love, more of all of those things won't actually fill the hole that we're trying to fill. We do have a hole. This culture's created a hole in the soul of humanity. But none of that's going to get at it. So we're using the wrong thing. And then when you get a little bit of a hit, you buy the Subaru and you feel a little bit of love because they told you would, but then it goes away. So then you've got to go drink a Coke and get happy because they told you it would. I think you can shop at Zappos and get some happiness there too. And because it's not really what will take care of us, we get a tiny little taste of, oh, maybe if I do it again.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you just
when
you mentioned the thing with the Subaru, it reminded me of a rather sad story. But we did a transport of a young girl who had on her we picked her up on her 16th birthday, and on her 16th birthday, she trashed her father's medical practice. And when I got there, and everybody, the doctor himself and his staff, they were scared because she had just trashed everything in there. It's just hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage. And I asked them, I said, what has got this? Because it was such a rush case that I was getting information while I was driving. And they said, they pointed out in the parking lot, and there was a Mustang convertible with a bow on it. And they said, she's upset because she got that for her birthday. And I said, I don't understand. And they said, well, her brother's a year older and he got a BMW convertible for his. At what point have we gotten to the point that a Mustang convertible for a 16-year-old girl is not enough? So, but anyway, so yes, that's the things that we see, and it's just a reminder of what's going on out there.
Well, Alan, that to me, that just talks, we haven't gotten into the laws in depth, but law number 4 is known as exempt. And one way that this law does manifest itself is through entitlement.
Mm-hmm.
And that we can just treat people without dignity, without care, and it's okay. And it's so sad. That story is heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm. Now, we've talked a lot about scarcity, but let's come up with some of the answers, and that's one of the things that I love about your book is you have some answers, some suggestions, or some paths. How does one move from this scarcity story to a life is enough? And think about it, gearing it kind of towards parents, because we have a lot of parents that listen, and in many cases, both of them are having to work. They are trying to do everything they can to raise their children in the best fashion they can, but they are still running into various issues at times. And, this is one of them that we hear from parents quite often is, if when all of their friends have this, we feel an obligation that we have to get them that. And I'm not saying that I agree with that thought process, but there certainly is a lot of people out there that do.
Jen, you want to start?
Sure. Well, as you suggested, Alan, the book has a lot of different practices, and We like to say we are what we practice, and we're always practicing something. The first step is for people to really see the level of distortion that we're living in. We tell a little story in the book about the two fish swimming in the water, and one fish swims up to the other fish and says, "How's the water today?" And the other fish says, "Water? What water?" So until we can distinguish that we're swimming in a sea of scarcity to which we think the antidote is excess of everything. So if I give my kid the Apple Watch, and I give my kid the Mustang, and if I give my kid the best education, and if I give my kid this, and if I, then they're going to turn out okay, and I have to keep up with the Joneses. That's all part of a mindset of scarcity. That's all part of the delusion and distortion of our time. And as we begin to choose something else, we call it sustainable abundance. Some people call it minimalism. Some people call it Christian values. There's lots of names and faces for a life that is really about valuing spirit, valuing human life, valuing caring for one another over possessions, status, all kinds of things. And there's many people talking about it in many different ways. But as we choose that, then we do both the inner work and the outer work of having made those choices. Both Gina and I are raising children, all of whom are 13 or over at this point. So they're all teen or young adults, and they get a certain amount of stuff, and then they have to pay for the rest.
Mm-hmm.
And those are choices that we've made. If you want that, you're going to have to earn the money. Now we'll talk to you about how you're going to go get a job or how you're going to contribute to that. But the kind of giving we're doing is leading to the entitlement Gina just talked about, and you just talked about, Alan. Like, I'm entitled to a Mustang. We're not entitled to any of this.
That's right.
We're not entitled to any of it. Most of it was a gift given by the gods before we got here, but we're not entitled to any of it.
That's right.
And the restoration of that reverence will help us rebuild a balance. And we're not doing our kids any service to think they're entitled to any of this.
Yeah. I
don't know what you'd say, Gina. But.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, so Gina, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, you use the word obligation, and obligation for us is a weapon of scarcity. And anytime, I offer to clients, friends, family members that we ought not to do anything out of obligation. And so listening to your question about when my kids were young, it was about when were they going to get the cell phone. I'm assuming it's still that, but my children didn't get a cell phone until they were 14, 15. Mainly, I think because I think it's getting younger and younger, because it seems to me now people are giving their kids cell phones even younger. And I just said no. And they would say to me, but so-and-so has a cell phone. And so-and-so has a cell phone. And I would say, and I said to them, the only reason why I think a child, this is back then, younger than you needs a cell phone is if their parents were divorced. And I want that child should have access to both parents when they want them. But your parents aren't divorced. You don't need that. You were here for you. And I didn't get them the cell phone until they were older. And I just held firm. And I think we don't, for some reason, I don't know if it's because of our own childhood feeling bullied or uncomfortable, we seem to have wanted to make our children not feel uncomfortable or not feel different or not feel ostracized or quote unquote awkward. There's like nothing worse in the society nowadays is than to feel awkward. And I teach my kids that, sometimes you got to feel awkward.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I completely agree, and that's just something that sets them apart. It's something that makes them different, and that isn't necessarily a bad thing, which is probably a whole nother topic. Along those lines, and maybe for some of the parents looking for some ideas, and I may have told this story before, but one of my sons, and I want to say he was probably about 13 at the time, and we went shopping for new tennis shoes, and he found the pair of a name brand, the top name brand shoes, and he says, "Dad, I need this pair," and that pair was $100, and there was another pair that was about roughly $50 that looked just like it. Everything was, but it wasn't the same name brand. And I said, well, let me explain what this situation is. You need a pair of shoes to wear. You want that one over there that's $100. I'm going to fulfill your needs as your father, which means I'm going to get you this pair that's the $50 pair. Now, if you want that one, what you need is another $50 that you're going to work for. That's what you need. There is a way to do that, and where we as parents can still fulfill our children's needs and not always having to fulfill their wants.
Right. And I'm listening, and that's brilliant. And there is this part of me that's asking this to myself right now. And can we actually fulfill every one of their needs? I'm not sure. That's a pretty high bar.
That's true.
I think even thinking about my own children, I wonder if that's too high a bar. My parents did not fulfill all of my needs. My parents fed me, clothed me, sheltered me, educated me through college, which was definitely incredibly generous. But if I sit back and think about my needs getting met, my parents didn't fulfill all my needs, and yet I say me and Jen and most parents out there are trying to do that.
That's a good point. Well, with that thought, we're going to take a break. So for any of you that are out there, again, if you want to check it out, you can go to sevenstonesleadership.com and you can follow along. Now, is that also where they can get the book, or can they get the book anywhere, Amazon or pretty much anywhere where books are sold?
Yeah,
they can get a signed copy. Oh, go ahead, Gina.
No, go ahead.
They can get a signed copy of the book through the website, and the books are available Amazon, Barnes and Noble, local booksellers, all the normal routes for purchasing a book.
All right. So for any of you out there, if you want to get the book, you can go to the website. You can get a signed copy. You can check that out right now. We're going to take a break. You're listening to Answers for the Family.
Founded over 30 years ago to meet the needs of families in crisis, Westshield has continually focused on resolving issues that negatively impact families and businesses. Our signature therapeutic transportation service helps to ensure that adolescents in crisis are safely transported to specialized schools, programs, and treatment centers with unsurpassed experience and success. We are supported by our full-service licensed investigation agency that has legally, professionally, and compassionately located hundreds of runaways and teens. We are experienced and qualified to help, offering solutions which may include referrals to our international network of top professionals in the fields of educational consulting, psychology, psychiatry, and investigations. Simply put, Westshield Adolescent Services and Westshield Investigations are the best solutions when your family is facing a personal crisis. Call 1-800-899-8585. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's 1-800-899-8585. Or visit our website at westshield.com. Thank you.
And we're back. You're listening to Answers for the Family. Our topic is the 7 Laws of Enough. And our guests are Gina LaRoche and Jennifer Cohen. Now, we have a listener question that has come in. And again, I want to thank those that take the time to do this, either by calling them in or by sending in an email or an instant message. Now, this one reads, I married what I thought was a loving, grounded, and kind man. And for a while, building our life and business together was enjoyable. Slowly, though, I began to see how opposite we were. He insisted that everything that we acquired had to be impressive, whether it was our home, our cars, or whatever. I tried to make a point that quality of life, not things, was the path to happiness, but he laughed at me, calling my statements greeting card platitudes, and that's in quotes. Tired of his ego, I finally divorced him. In your opinion, is there really help for people who are this deeply entrenched in the illusion that things are the answers to happiness? And that's from Valerie in Washington. So Gina or Jennifer, what's your thoughts on that?
I can go Gina first if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
You
Gina,
know, hope springs eternal, so to speak, Alan. Do we believe there's help for the human condition and the level of distortion this person is speaking to, whether accurately or not? Yeah, I do. I don't know if it's delusional hope or not, but we go for hope that there is a possibility of humanity waking up, and there, it's either that or hopelessness. And during my time here, I'll speak for myself, and then Gina, you can speak for yourself. During my time here, I prefer to go for standing for something that I think is possible. I don't know if it's probable. I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime. I suspect not. But many people stand for possibilities that they don't see in their lifetime. In fact, most amazing leaders who have had a vision for humanity don't live to see the fullness of that vision, and it doesn't mean you don't stand for it.
that's a great point.
Yeah, I think I'll just go to the personal part of the question, is that Valerie's former husband may never get there in this lifetime. He may never see the cost of his greed has cost him a marriage and a relationship. It may not bring him to his knees, but it does for many people. And when they find themselves on their knees, that's when they're ready to step out of these myths that we can have it all and having it all will make us happy. But it usually takes something for an individual to wake up to that realization that they are living inside of a myth.
Yeah, one of the thoughts that I got from it, from that question, was the quote, the greeting card platitudes. I think what bothered me was the fact that, in essence, it is somebody who's operating from a position of greed or wanting to constantly have more, which I'm kind of one of those of let people live, but in the way in which they choose, but don't make fun of the way in which other people are choosing to live. So if you have somebody, and especially someone that's your wife that you're supposed to love and cherish, and that to then make fun of the fact that they want to have more quality time with you, or they want to do things that are more natural as far as positive health, rather than constantly trying to accumulate more things. And I think that's what struck me the most out of it was, just don't make fun of somebody because they want something that is different. And if you're in a relationship, shouldn't you be open to at least listening to what it is that they have to say, rather than blowing it off like it was ridiculous?
Yeah, I had that thought too. Then you said that she had already left him, and I had the thought having someone laugh at your own dreams and aspirations is just not a healthy relationship. I wouldn't recommend that for anybody.
Exactly. So now, going back to the book, let's talk a little bit about, for instance, law number 4, where you say, no one is exempt. That was one of the things, for a lot of us, we think that, okay, well, we do things differently, so maybe we're exempt from this or that. Talk a little bit about what you mean by that.
Well, we like to say no one is exempt. This is Jen, not even me. And in this culture of consumerism, in this culture of some idealized version of an American dream that is held out as available to all, but isn't actually structurally designed to be available to all, but it's held out that way, then we spend a lot of time trying to insulate ourselves as part of that American dream from the vicissitudes of life, from the ups and downs. So if I nip, if I tuck, if I have the right house, if I go to the right spiritual community or religious community, if I have the right friends or the right job, that somehow I'm going to be protected. My gated community will protect me if I'm living like that, or switching neighborhoods, or taking my kids out of the public school system. Somehow we're always looking to get more convenient and more comfortable. And we're sold that on a daily basis. And what we like to say is there's great freedom in recognizing that we cannot buy our way out of what it means to be alive. And to be alive means we're going to experience the whole range, the 10,000 joys and the 10,000 sorrows of being a human being on planet Earth. And that the real game is how we embrace life the way it was designed, which is what the 7 laws is designed to allow us to do. The real game is not, how do I get out of the game, which is really, or how do I win a delusional game? One or the other. How do I get out of the game, or how do I win a delusional game? And neither one is going to work, which we keep saying in one way or another, right? So how do we actually rest, which is another one of the laws, rest in life on life terms? Well, one of the ways we rest is to recognize the real game. And part of that is that we're not exempt.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's a great point. And I was just thinking about rest. It's so funny that you went to that, because I was thinking about it, because I know that I was one of those at a young age that thought that, the old term, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I don't need this. I'm on a roll. I'm making a difference. I'm running, and I would try to see it was a badge of honor if I could go, 2 days straight and not sleep, which is ridiculous now as I'm a little more mature. But talk a little bit more about why it is so important that we do that, or that we rest so that we can cultivate a sustainable abundance.
Well, to start off with, we are talking about a deep rest inside the nervous system, mm-hmm. and not the kind of rest, the escapism that many of us, including me, do on a Friday night where we sit in front of the television with, dare I say, a bottle of wine and a bowl of popcorn, watching the latest Netflix comedy specials. We're really talking about a rest that allows for the parasympathetic nervous system to operate, that stimulates the positive emotional attractors, that allows that parasympathetic nervous system to be in motion. And so we're talking more in the domains of meditation and yoga and prayer, etc. And we don't give ourselves an opportunity to do that. And actually, as you said, we many business executives right now, there's this new thing in the media about how little sleep these CEOs need. Tim Cook only needs 3 hours a night to sleep. And so we're using that as another weapon of this, like, I don't need to rest physically, emotionally, or mentally. And that somehow I'm going to win this game. And really, again, it's back to sacrificing of our well-being for money and our well-being for greed.
Well, I was just looking up, and I'm almost shocked to think that we've only got about 4 minutes.
Oh wow!
But I've got another question that has come in, so I want to make sure we take care of that. This one reads: I found the title of your book intriguing. I have a couple of blogs that deal with parent/teacher issues, and my question surrounds the fact that almost all of our youth have devices in their hands. They are being bombarded with marketers who now have a direct path to influence these very impressionable minds. I would like to know if your book goes down this specific rabbit hole, or how your 7 laws of enough might apply to this particular problem. And this is from Rebecca in New York.
I don't think we go, the book doesn't address social media or media directly, like a whole set of practices around that. But I think I would just reiterate what Gina already said, which is, regardless of how painful it is or how much self-work we have to do to be able to do it, it is our job as parents to create a boundary for our kids where they really don't have one. I have something, to be very practical, on my child's phone called Custodio, not to add my half of somebody else, her phone. It allows me to take apps off her phone. It allows me to be in charge of how much and of what kind how much social media and of what kind she has access to. And it is my responsibility to protect her from the bombardment. And there are multiple ways to do that. And we're in a system that's larger than any one family. People ask us this all the time about, what do you do? What does Gina do? How are your kids? Are they exemplars of sustainable abundance? And, in some ways they are, and in other ways they're exemplars of scarcity, because the system is bigger than any one family. And each of our families are doing what we can to live the values that we're espousing, and we're all subject to these forces. My daughter is well aware that how she looks matters more than what's in her brain, and not because I told it to her, and not because I didn't protect her from media, because it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and for me, my children are older, and they have the same message because they're Black men in America. So how they look is more important than anything, is what they're taught out in society. And when it comes to media, one of my kids took all of his social media off his phone. We have no phones at the dinner table. When we're in the car together, we really do our best to not talk on the phone or text while we're in the car as a family together. So we put the boundaries for our social media and our phones, so we can protect that space of connection and community.
Well, Gina, Jennifer, I got to tell you this. First of all, I would love to have you back. I think this is such a powerful subject, and I really wish that we had more time. And it sounds like we may have touched on. So, do I hear a sequel book coming out geared towards teenagers?
Well, some of our students have been very interested in the 7 Laws for Children. We're hoping they write the book, but maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll be writing the 7 Laws for Parents. The 7 Laws for Leaders is probably the next on our docket, but we'll see. Well,
please know that I'd love to have you back. This is, I think, an important subject for all of us. We can go into much more of the mindset. So thank you so much. And I just want to acknowledge you and thank you for what you're doing. You're getting the word out, and it takes people like yourself to get that word out so that more people can pass it on. So for those of you that are listening, Pass the word on. That's how we're going to be able to make a difference. So again, thank you so much for being with us.
You're welcome,
Thanks
Al.
for
Thank
having
you.
us.
And thanks for having us.
You're very welcome. Now, for everybody out there, please be sure to put us on your calendar and tune in next Monday when we will be joined by Joe Mellon and Meryl Fox to discuss their book, Shiny Happy Couples, How to Detoxify Your Relationship Using the Mel Fox Method. And please visit our archives of past interviews at answersforthefamily.com, or you can subscribe to the show through iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube. If you like what you hear, please leave a review. It will help us reach more people, and we greatly appreciate it. Next time you're on Facebook or Twitter, please remember to stop by our page, check out some of our latest posts. If you like them, please like us and spread the word. Be good human beings, and be with us again next week on Answers for the Family.
You're listening to Answers for the Family with Alan Cardoza, right here on LA Talk Radio.